Welcome back to another Theme Park Conductor live stream. I am joined by the one and only Jared from Capture the Magic. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very good. I was enjoying your little music you were playing. That was a nice little vibe into the live stream. I like it.
Exactly,
How are you
exactly.
doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's only getting hotter out here on the West Coast, but starting
It's
to.
already it hit that point like last week where you walk outside here and you're like, oh, it's humid already, and it sticks until about November. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's already here for us. So I feel you there.
Oh man, where can everyone find you on social media?
Make it really easy. It is at Cap the Magic everywhere. And then the YouTube channel is at Cap the Magic. And then we also have a podcast, my wife and I, that we cover more like theme park tips and things like that over on YouTube at CTM Podcast. But Cap the Magic is the home base on social media, YouTube, and all that stuff.
Absolutely. And you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Blue Sky at Theme Park Conductor. You can find me on X at Theme Conductor. You can also find me every Sunday at 5 p.m. and for today, 3 p.m. because I have Jared from the East Coast, but usually 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we talk about Universal, Disney, and all the crazy news going on. The first topic I want to talk to you about, Jared, because you were there grand opening day for Epic Universe. You've been to the preview days as well. What was going through your mind? Because we were kind of watching everyone's live streams and videos throughout the entire day. And I mean, everybody from the West Coast, Midwest, everywhere. And things were just, some people were saying that it was packed. Some people were saying that it was packed for a little bit, then died off. Then attractions weren't working. What was going down?
So from my perspective, so we've been twice before. The only ride we hadn't got to ride yet was Battle of the Ministry. So our whole thing, we were up by 5 a.m., actually 4:45 a.m., because we stayed at Terra Luna. So we were just, my wife actually walked over, and then I drove the car over. But it's like a 20-minute walk from there.
Sure.
So we were in the security lines by, before 6, it's 6:30. Getting in there. So when we got in, we rope dropped Ministry of Magic, and that was packed. Like there was a lot of people. Like they had to actually start letting people into the park because it was spilling out into the parking lot of just how many people were lining up before they even opened the gates. They said they're going to open up the gates at 7, and it ended up being closer to 6:30.
Definitely.
So then they had a little ceremony getting in. So Ministry of Magic was, it was. Most people were rope dropping that because that, like you were showing there, it got up to like a 5-hour wait time. But the ride went down first thing in the morning.
Wow.
So our day was spent in line. We actually got out of line at noon because we'd been waiting and there was no idea when it was going to come back open. So we kind of lost the morning trying to do that attraction. But it was interesting because it was really busy in the morning, but then the wait times and things in the park, like the park was like most everything was a walk-on. 5-10 minutes on most attractions. Some stuff went down here. Obviously, Battle of the Ministry went down. It came back up around like 3:30, but it was running the rest of the day. And then some stuff here and there was going down intermittently. But for the most part, most of the rides were up all day long. But there just weren't that many people in the park, which was kind of interesting given how the previews went, how busy those were. It was kind of an interesting little development there, I guess.
Well, see, it's interesting too because we've talked about it. I think the last time I was on your channel on a live stream with the OG and I think one other person was that I think it was you that mentioned that the Battle of Ministry can hold a 7-hour wait time between the queue and the extended queue. So I can only imagine when that ride does go down, it causes all the other attractions throughout Epic Universe just to skyrocket in wait times.
It can. That's what they said. It's a 7-hour queue. I'm not sure. I'm guessing we never saw that portion. We were one of probably the first. I'm going to guess 200 people into the queue. We were kind of up there. So I never saw where they have the extended queues and where it wraps around. I do know it was spilling out of the main entrance into the land itself, but that is what they have said. It's like a 7 to 8 hour queue they have built into that ride. But yeah, you're right. If that ride is not running, obviously those crowds of people are going to go elsewhere, and it's going to make wait times potentially inflate at other rides.
Definitely. And one of the things that I'm concerned with, because you've talked about it, other people have talked about it, is I think it's a little sensor that they have on the actual attraction underneath the seat. So there are times that it will go off and completely shut down the attraction. Do you think that is just a flaw that Universal needs to address sooner rather than later?
It reminds me, and I think I know what they do with this now. It reminds me of the Rise of the Resistance. When that ride first opened, from everything I was hearing, that how that ride has that drop in it,
Yeah.
that was the part where essentially the ride was kind of losing like almost a Wi-Fi signal, and it was having issues there. I think the similar thing has been happening with Battle. I think they've had issues with having enough ride vehicles running at the same time, but there is a part in the ride where there's supposed to be a little bit of a drop, and that has been some of the issue with those sensors. But when I rode it, because we went back later on in the day and got to ride it,
Yeah.
the ride's amazing. Like, it is 10 out of 10. Like, I don't know, 10 out of 10. I put 9.8 out of 10. It is an insane queue. The queue, everything, the immersion is wild. But it didn't really have that drop in the part where you kind of, from what was happening, you figured that was going to happen. I think what they do when that sensor has an issue, when it comes back online, it's kind of a B mode, and they just don't have that drop taking place, because I think they may still be trying to work through those sensors. So I think that may be their sort of B mode, and then it runs a bit smoother after that. That could be one of the things, but at least for us, I think that's kind of what I think was going on with it. And talking to people who rode it before, they said there was an actual, like, pretty significant drop in the ride, kind of like a Tower of Terror, not that big of a drop, but a decent little drop there that we didn't experience. So I think that may be part of that issue with that sensor.
Definitely. And then I just want to go to the chat real quick, and a lot of people have joined, just saying hi to you and me and whatnot.
What's up, chat?
What's up, chat? I love it. We got David in the house. We got the one and only Orange Grove 55 in the house.
OG, what's up?
OG. We got Eric Patterson in the house. Tommy Toon World, great friend of the channel.
What's
Jacob
up,
Weller.
What's up, Jacob?
And the one and only the Giant Peter Show. Man, he's been on fire between, on X, on OG's live streams, just my live streams. So shout out to the Giant Peter Show. But going back to it, one of the things that I noticed too, and I think it was a great thing they did with the Battle of Ministry, not only just making it a huge attraction to eat up a lot of people in the queue, but the fact that you kind of get a 2-for-1 deal, like you're talking about, because when you're walking through the queue, that's almost like a attraction itself before you actually get on the attraction.
It's insane. I put out a review on my channel yesterday. Like, I actually put I was filming myself as I walked in, and I was like at a loss for words. Like, the scale of it, like, the pictures don't quite do it justice when you walk in. It literally looks like the Ministry of Magic from the movies. Like, very slight differences, but it is the queue is insane to the scale and everything going on in it. And the one thing I do like about it is Rise of the Resistance has a similar thing with that hangar scene when you got the stormtroopers, but you're always rushed through there because there's more people coming behind you, and you're being, captive by the First Order. Here, you can linger in here if you want to. Like, you can take pictures, take videos, and they I think they built it in knowing people are just going to walk in and be like, what in the world? And like, it takes you a minute to really just be like, this is a queue for a ride. Like, this is what's crazy.
100%. We actually got your video, so we're going to actually play, and you can tell us what's going on here. So let's do that. And
so this is, you go through this part, the Metro flew. Now, normally it's supposed to have smoke and stuff in here. It wasn't running first thing in the morning, but this is like your transport into that area.
Yeah.
And then coming up here, I think is whenever you walk through it, and it's like the scale, like, as soon as like you get through that thing, you go through a little tunnel, and you just turn a corner, and then you're just like in the middle of the Ministry.
Yeah.
And I think it's like right there, I think is where it is. and it's unlike anything I've ever seen. I mean, that alone, the queue is a 10 out of 10. It is absolutely a marvel of what they're able to do for a queue, and that's before you even get to the ride. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
just,
Well, we're looking right at it, and I have to tell you, because I've run Rise of the Resistance many times out here on the West Coast at Disneyland, and a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people that have gone through this attraction, like yourself, um, have actually said that the Battle of Ministry queue actually outbeats, the Star Wars attraction.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, I would say undoubtedly. I mean, I honestly think they went through Rise of the Resistance. And were like, we're gonna one up this because it's like everything that Rise does, and Rise is a great ride.
oh, 100%.
And they just take everything like I imagine this entire ride probably cost $1 billion to make. I'm just gonna guess. I don't know what the budget was, but it is. I mean, that thing right there where you're looking at, that's not even a part. Like you're looking back into it, like you don't even walk through that part.
Wow.
Like they've just done so many extra things. And what's interesting about the ride, it's all based on you're there on the day Dolores Umbridge is having her trial. So you're in line because everybody is there that day at Ministry of Magic to get on an elevator to watch the trial. So it's almost like, I don't know if you call it meta or not, but
yeah,
it's like you're in line, but you're supposed to be in line because everyone's there to see this trial. So you're going through the Wizarding like offices and everything like that. Like in each little section of the queue has just so much stuff in it. Like it's the detail, the Easter eggs, if you're a Harry Potter fan, are just basically endless in this thing.
Wow. See, that's insane, because you're actually showing a reference right now to Rise of the Resistance. And when I first walked through this attraction, at least on the West Coast, it's probably the exact same thing on the East Coast. This was mind blowing, but watching your footage of the Ministry of Magic, it just upscales it to a whole nother level. Because looking at what your reaction is, and then you're looking at that black kind of shiny brick they put in every square inch. I can only imagine the detail that went into that. That's insane.
I think they said something like 25,000 tiles are in this ride or something. It's some insane number, and it's everywhere. It's in that part. It's all through the hallways. Like it is literally just from floor to ceiling of those tiles everywhere.
That's absolutely insane. But those statues, it's just, my God, just walking up to that is just mind blowing.
Well, and that's the thing. Most theme parks are going to do forced perspective. That's a very common thing in theme parks. This ride and the land in general for Ministry of Magic, everything is built at scale. Yeah. So none of this is like the only part right there in the back. That part there is supposed to look like the Ministry just goes on essentially forever. That is the only part that is even like a little bit of forced perspective. But everything in there is built at scale. Like it's hard to put into words. Like when you walk in there, because I was like just saying, like, wow, that's all I could really utter at the time. But I'd never seen the queue yet. So this is the first time I was ever actually to see it. Because both times we'd gone before, the ride wasn't operating. So I didn't really get to check it out. But it's wild.
100%. And, it's interesting to me, an attraction like this based off the original Harry Potter series, not the Fantastic Beasts, but the original. It makes me believe that Universal has more of this to come to their Universal parks, that Harry Potter is still relevant to this day. You know what I mean?
It's interesting with this land because the land is off of the Fantastic Beasts. So the land's 1920s Paris. You go through this Metro flu and like the use of a time turner, and you were in 1990s Ministry of Magic. That's kind of the whole. So then the ride are in the 90s in the original Harry Potter timeline, but the land is in the 1920s.
Yeah.
I think they were going to do the ride based off of Fantastic Beasts, but those movies didn't do very well.
Yeah.
They kind of changed that up. But I mean, people have been wanting Ministry of Magic forever. I mean, there was rumored to go in next to Diagon Alley at one point. I think before Epic was really greenlit. But I mean, they could do a lot more stuff. I mean, I don't think the popularity of Harry Potter is waning. I mean, you can see the wait times of just people are still into it. And it's very, all the Wizarding World stuff they've done is on this same scale, just like insane detail, like bringing the movies to life. And they did it in this ride too.
So I want to ask you about that because you're talking about Fantastic Beasts being based off the 1920s and that movie franchise. Do you think it was a smart idea to use Fantastic Beasts for the main land and then use the attraction itself for the original, or do you think both iterations shouldn't have been from the original?
It's a little weird. I don't know a lot about Fantastic Beasts. I
Sure.
think it's an interesting concept being like 1920s Paris. It opens you up to a lot of food stuff you can do in there and kind of a unique land in that way. Um, you're in the wizarding world, so things can kind of just be silly. Like you can time travel and do stuff like that, I suppose. So like for me, it doesn't mess with like the ride is great. The land is okay. Like in terms of I haven't explored that land a ton.
Yeah.
We have eaten the restaurants, but like the immersion of the scale, the land is very impressive. In terms of a mistake, like I don't know. I personally wouldn't have chose to do Fantastic Beasts just because it's not a movie franchise. Like I've seen parts of it, like it looks cool, but
Yeah.
it never caught on to the big time in the movies and things like that. So I mean, there's probably other things you could have done from the Harry Potter movies, from the original movies you could have done in here. But I think the immersion, everything is in this ride is enough of a draw that it makes people want to go in here regardless to check this stuff out. But yeah, it would be interesting to see what the other ideas were. If they weren't going to do this, what was some of the backup ideas or other ideas they kind of threw around? I'd be curious about.
Sure. Well, see, what's got me curious is because for the longest time, at least out here on the West Coast for our Universal, it's been talked about and talked about and talked about was getting a extension of Harry Potter to our park. The problem we have is just the size of our park because
Right.
whatever we put into our park has to be relevant, has to be permanent for at least 15 to 20 years because we're limited on space. So people are like, well, why would you do more Harry Potter? But then when you look at something like this, it's like, how can you not do more Harry Potter?
Right.
25 years after the fact, it's still relevant. So
Yeah.
why not?
I've questioned before. I mean, before, I used to think before, like I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. My daughter, like she's gotten into it a lot more of like, is Harry Potter going to be relevant, in 10, 15 years? I kind of feel like Harry Potter on some level is similar to Star Wars in that you're not going to see sequels off of that original timeline necessarily. Like they're doing that HBO show that's sort of a retelling of the original books.
Yeah.
But I feel like it just has this, people grew up with it. It has this nostalgia. And I think 5, 10 years, 15 years from now, people will still be into it. So it kind of reminds me of that way of Star Wars-ish in terms of how it just has the lasting staying power that most franchises don't. I mean, I think even like I love Transformers, but even now it's like, oh yeah, I remember those movies. Like, those are kind of, as time goes along, there'll probably be a new Transformers series and movies that pop up. Whereas I don't think it'll be the same thing with like Harry Potter.
Definitely, 100%. And a question from one of our moderators, Jared, that I want to bring up. It's from Tommy Toon World. He asks, "What's up, Jared? Did you try any food at Epic or want to try?"
We did. What's up, Tommy? We had those macaroni cones that people have been talking about. I got the Dragon Fire. It's like the hot Nashville hot chicken in it with the macaroni and cheese. Those are amazing. That is some of the best theme park food. It's a little carrier, like you can carry it around and eat it.
Wow.
It was $17, so it's a little pricey, but it would be really hard to finish one by yourself. Like you can split it. I think it's a lot of bread, but it is delicious. I would get that again and again. Also had some of the yak nog that was in Mead Hall, which is like it's like a chocolate cinnamon type of drink. Got the whipped cream on it. It was pretty good. And then we had the one thing I was disappointed in. I'm really big on, I don't know if you ever had cinnamon bread.
I have.
Okay, so I'm from Missouri. So Silver Dollar City was like 45 minutes from where I grew up.
Definitely.
And that is a staple of that park and Dollywood. And it's gotten so popular, they had to build an entire, almost like a ride queue for it because so many people want that cinnamon bread there. It is the best theme park food I've ever had in my life. It is, I dream about that food.
100%.
Yeah, they have a Delaney's Cottage next to Dark in the manor in Dark Universe sells they call it cinnamon bread bites, but it is more of donut holes with cinnamon and sugar and frosting. It's good, but it is nowhere near as good as cinnamon bread.
No.
So I'm a little disappointed it wasn't as good as that. We had some other stuff. What else did we have? I'm trying to think now. That may have been all we had that day. We didn't even, like, we spent so much time in line that we just, like, for the early part of the day, because we got out of Battle of Main Street at noon, so we were trying to, do a lot more park stuff. I have had the garlic steak in Dark Universe is very good. That one's also pretty tasty. And then we've also had Toadstool Cafe, which is, the theming in there is really cool. The food is okay. Yeah. But it's the theme. If you're in the Nintendo, that whole restaurant is really cool.
Definitely.
But yeah, I definitely want to go back though and try more food. I mean, it is, and I think it'll help Universal a lot, is kind of a good food park. There's a lot of food options, a lot of snacks and things like that. And I think that's something that'll help them out too.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I know you've mentioned it on your videos, even your live stream that I was part of the last time, was that a lot of young trees have been planted for this park and there's not a lot of shade yet. So, enjoying the foods and whatnot, once the trees start to grow and there's a lot more shade, I think the food options in Epic Universe between each land is really going to be a nice kind of just relaxation, especially in Celestial Park.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, once those trees, like Celestial Park, is not a lot of shade. In the middle of the day, it's hot. It's going to be hot, especially in that land. But at nighttime, Celestial Park is so great. Like, it's nothing more I want to do than get a drink, get something to eat, and just sit around the fountain and just chill out. Relax a little bit. Like we typically, like midday, we went actually back to our car and took a nap at like 4 o'clock because I was like dead tired. It was super hot. And that kind of, I took the nap, went and got a coffee, and I was good to go after that. But it's midday. It's going to be a little bit rough in Celestial Park, no doubt.
Absolutely. Another question from one of our followers, from Albert Rodriguez. He asked, what's the deal with Epic being so empty on opening day?
I think it's a combo. So this is the first new park I've been to, but I have been to grand openings of rides and lands. And it kind of reminded me of Galaxy's Edge when that land opened at Disney World. The first part of the day was crazy. Tons of people going in there. And then by midday, that was before Rise of the Resistance was open. They opened that land just with Smuggler's Run. And it was like a 45-minute wait for that ride about like 3 o'clock.
Wow.
I think it was partially, they are capping attendance. So from Thrill Data, it was showing that opening day was around like 13,000 tickets they were capping it at. And I think what they did was, once they sold that initial allotment and whatever the AP single day tickets were sold, I don't think they added to that capacity, because I think during the previews, they did get some flack for all of the rides being down and things like that, which is going to happen during previews. But I think they got a lot of negative flack for the pricing they were putting the previews at in the state of the park. So I think they were taking a very conservative approach with not having it have too many people in case these rides go down. And then you have a really bad situation where you've got 3-4 hour waits for things and people are upset. And I also think there was partially that, and partially, I think some people just went to be there in the morning and then left, because it was the whole day. I mean, everything was essentially a walk-on. Like, walking around Celestial Park was not packed. It was very surprising. I thought it was going to be much more hectic, but it was a nice, for us in the park that day.
Sure.
We got to ride, we rode Hiccup's Wind Gliders like 4 times. Wow. Everything. Even Monsters Unchained was like a 10-minute wait. Harry Potter, Battle of Ministry got down to like a 60-minute wait toward the end of the night. Wow. So I think it was that. And I think they're just taking a very conservative approach. If you look at Thrill Data has all this stuff, and I can send you a link, you can take a look at it.
Sure.
They're keeping the park capped on capacity under 15,000. Most of these days are 12, 14,000. And then July 1st is when it jumps up to 22,000 guests. So it looks like they're slowly ramping up the capacity. And this could change. They could ramp this up sooner if these rides look like they're being more reliable, like Battle is running very smoothly. So I think the cap or the capacity of the park is a fluid thing right now. But I think it was like a combo of those things. And a lot of people that were, locals have already been to the park during preview, so they may have already had tickets and they just went, maybe they left midday or something like that. So I'm not really sure. I don't think it's one exact thing, but I do know at the end of the day, they gave out these little commemorative like tickets that show you were there for the opening day, and they're numbered. And my number was like 9,650. Now I don't know if that's means that under 10,000 people were there that day. I don't know if they were handing those out in chronological order, but I definitely think it was under 11,000 people in the park that day, if I were to guess.
100%. This is what the ticket looks like right here.
Yep.
That's it.
I would grab it. Mine's downstairs. But yeah, it has a little number there. And then the team member told me, which I had heard, that they were shooting for 20,000 on opening day. She said they had 20,000 of these.
Yeah.
It just seems like once they got through previews, they just didn't really add to the capacity of the park in that opening time frame, is my guess as to kind of what happened.
Definitely. And it's very cool they did that. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They also had a medallion. Were you able to snag one of those?
They sold those out. People are mad about this. They sold those out the day before when the media previews. Wow. So the opening of the park, people were wanting that, and they were already gone. So that was a blunder, given the fact that they just let the media buy those up, and nobody that was there on the actual opening day got any.
So I might get some crap for this, but I am going to say it. They pulled the Disney move.
I mean, it's not a good look.
No.
It's definitely not a good look to have. Now, I wasn't really going to get, I don't know. I'm not really too big on getting a bunch of stuff. I might have gotten a couple of things, but they had T-shirts and stuff like that. But those medallions are what people really wanted.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of people that are kind of upset by that, which, rightfully so. If you're there on opening day and you want some merchandise and that's what you really wanted, you didn't have a chance to get it, like that sucks.
Yeah, 100%. So I want to go back to opening day real quick. Because Orange Grove 55, I was on his live stream yesterday, and one of the things that he brought up was that, not Universal themselves. Don't get me wrong. They've marketed this park, but I feel they needed to do it more. But the backbone that I kind of see is a lot of influencers, even bigger than us. Top tier influencers like Alicia Stella and so on and so on. Were hyping this park so much. And then once grand opening hit, like you said, it was busy in the morning, maybe early afternoon, and then it just died off.
Yeah, a part of it, I think there is, and I think Disneyland's Galaxy's Edge saw this too. I think there's a lot of people, and I know from the comments on my channel, people wanting to go, but thinking opening day is going to be crazy. Opening timeline's going to be crazy. These rides are not all running. Like, you may have rides being down. A lot of people are just in sort of a waiting pattern before they're committing to go. So I actually think I think there's a lot of people in that boat. Yeah. And historically, ever since COVID, summer really hasn't been a huge travel season either. That's an interesting shift in the last 5 years. That I was at Disney World around, I think on July 3rd, and it was not busy. Like, walk-ons almost on everything, because a lot of people are now traveling more in the off times more than they used to. So I think it could be part of that. Obviously, there could be some, it's expensive to go, and people are just wait. And I think given the price it is to go, some people are just saying, I'm going to wait to spend that money until I know this park runs smoothly. And I get that. So I think it's a combo of that, but it was I was surprised. I really thought it was going to be crazier than what it was. Our preview day on the second one we went to, most rides were like an hour plus wait. 90 minutes for Minecart, Hiccups Wing Gliders, we waited like an hour and 45 minutes. So the previews were way busier than the actual opening day. But I also think they had more team members. They had all the full capacity of these rides running on opening day probably helped with that also. So I don't think it's necessarily people just aren't interested in going. I just think it's a new park and people just aren't really sure when to go sometimes. And I get that, like, just being from the outside looking in, if you're unsure about these rides, you're going to drop $5,000 plus to go on a trip. Like, I would want to make sure the park is running good before I drop that money too.
Well, see, it's funny you mentioned that, because me and Tommy Toon World, because we collab a lot. Like, we hung out with OG, we hung out with a bunch of YouTubers that's usually covering the Orlando theme parks, like Walt Disney World, Universal Orlando, but they were out here on the West Coast for the Disneyland 70th, and me and Tommy Toon World been talking, saying that we wanted to go grand opening weekend, but it's probably a better thing we did not. And we're looking at possibly late February, early March of next year to go. That way, the park has time to work out its kinks. And by the time we go, we won't have this issue. As you can see on, and this is live wait times right now, there's more attractions closed at the moment than they are open currently.
Is it? I wonder if it's raining right now.
It might be.
Because one weakness about this park, I'm looking on the app too to see what it says to me, is when it says weather delay. So when it rains, there's a lot of outdoor attractions here, and it's not an if in Florida it rains, it's just a when it rains. You're only going to have like 5 things running, which is definitely a weakness of this park. So it definitely seems like right now there's a weather delay going on, and that you got 90 minutes for Battle of the Ministry, 50 for Mario Kart, 10 still for Monsters Unchained. Monsters Unchained is a beast of a ride that moves people through that thing so efficiently, which, given the level of attraction it is, that is nice to have. But yeah, you'll see higher inflated wait times undoubtedly, even 35 minutes for the carousel when there's a rain delay. So it's, those are things that's just how this park is right now until they add more things to it. And it's Florida. It's going to rain, but usually when it rains in Florida, it's, it'll rain a little bit and then clears up, and then it's just humid afterwards.
Definitely.
It already was.
And, even out here in Hollywood, it has its share of issues to a point. A lot of our stuff is indoors, but even then there's, issues here and there. Like our world famous studio tour, I know when it does rain, there are certain sections of the studio tour that the tram will not go through, or if they're filming, it changes every single day. It's not consistent. It depends what the weather is. It depends what area of the lot they're filming in. Right. Even, some of the attractions like Super Silly Funland, that's next to our Parisian Courtyard area, there are some attractions that will be closed if it's raining. So we have the same problem out here in Hollywood, but not to the scale of Epic Universe. One of the attractions that you're probably referring to is Stardust Racers. I can only imagine if it's raining, that attraction won't be operating. Have you done that attraction yet?
I'm not a coaster person, but my wife has. She loves it. She rode it. She loved it. She said it was very similar to Velocicoaster. She prefers Velocicoaster a little bit more, but she was like, it's right up there with one of the better coasters she's ever ridden. I've heard some people put it as like number 1 in like the world. But yeah, myself, I'm not a huge coaster guy, but from talking to her and then other people that rode it, they rave about it. And it's kind of like it has 2 different tracks, so it's not the same ride both times. And then if you want even more thrill, the thing I think would be cool is at night they don't illuminate the track, and the only lighting is actually on the ride vehicle itself, because it's supposed to look like a shooting star, which it does. That's really cool. In the park, when you see it does look like there's just like a shooting stars running around. That I imagine it's more thrilling at night when you really can't see that well.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that's one of the things that kind of gets me upset out here in Hollywood, because with our Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift coaster, that's pretty much at this point getting towards the end.
Yeah, I saw you guys got the ride vehicles in there.
We did. Nice. So they're starting to do the pull through. And one of the things that kind of makes me a little upset, but I understand it because we're surrounded by movie studios, we're surrounded by neighbors, is that we're actually not supposedly going to have a lighting package on our coaster. And a lot of people are upset by that. So it's like you ride it at night and you're riding in complete darkness. So it's like,
kind of adds a thrill factor to it a little bit. Like you can't see where you're going. It's like Space Mountain. You don't know where you're going, getting jerked around there. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
I always said Space Mountain should be. They needed. You know how Disney likes to do the sponsorships. They should get Excedrin to sponsor that ride and just hand you Excedrin as you get off, because you get off with a migraine.
Yeah. 100%. You know, it's funny because we have a park out here. It's Knott's Berry Farm. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. So they used to have an attraction back in the day. It was called Boomerang. I felt the same way. Getting off that, you would get the worst whiplash. I kid you not. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
Similar, not as rough as Space Mountain, but Minecart Madness is a little rough,
Okay.
especially if you ride. So I rode at the end of the night because my wife
Sure.
was like, it was like 10, I don't know, 30 minutes before park closed. And I was like, I want to ride everything I can with these wait times because I don't know when I'll ever see this again. So Minecart Madness was a walk on, but I rode it by myself. So I was in my own cart because it wasn't full. And
Sure.
when you're by yourself,
Oh,
that thing, because it's got that arm, and I was sitting on the other side of it. And I'm not light. I mean, I'm weighing like 230. So I'm guessing that. But man, that thing threw me around. Like it was just way jerkier when you're by yourself in there.
yeah.
And my back popped a few times. I was like, oh, okay. But it was kind of like a runaway, minecart at that point, how
Sure.
it might feel, actually.
Wow. You know, it's funny because George from Citrico Central, he actually talked about that. Him and his wife went on it and said something very similar to that. And I'm actually I'm not shocked, but I am shocked because nowadays you would think with the technology these companies have for newer attractions, like we're seeing at Epic, you would think they would try to get away from an attraction, especially a brand new attraction like that, a state of the art attraction being so rough.
Yeah, I'm guessing. I mean, what the thing about it too is like, how rough is that thing going to be in a couple of years? Because
Oh, I know.
coasters typically get rougher. I mean, I appreciate the immersion of it, and given like I love the Donkey Kong game, so it's like simulating you jumping over those gaps in the track and the idea behind it. But I am curious about how that will age and like how much maintenance they may have to do because if it gets real rough, I mean, people are not going to want to ride that.
No.
So I would imagine maybe they're going to do some more intense maintenance on that thing as the years go along. But I guess there's some question marks in there because it is a very unique ride system and how they've got that thing running.
So let me ask you about that because I know with Osaka Japan's version was that when you're going through, I think it was like towards the middle to the tail end of that attraction, and you go through the little tunnel, people were saying, "Oh, well, there's a lack of theming." Did you happen to notice that in your version in Orlando?
I know what you're talking about there. In ours, it's dark in there. It's not like real themed up a lot, but
Sure.
you are in the dark, so you're going fast, and you can't really see it too much. But if you see a POV, and I think a lot of what people were seeing was some of those cameras pick up light more than
Yeah,
the human eye does.
sure.
But the one in Japan definitely looked way less themed than the one in Epic Universe. But that scene that you're going through is like, it might be 2 seconds. It's not very long. You're in there, like maybe 2 or 3 seconds, and you got to go down. But they've got characters in there. It could be done better.
Sure.
But I'm a little surprised they didn't do more theming in there, just given it's Nintendo and kind of what they're notorious for. But it's not as bad as it was seeming. I don't know if they did anything with the one in Japan or not. But the one in Japan, when I first saw it, I was like, that's not great. Because you can see like an exposed ceiling and stuff like that.
Yeah, see, I'm hoping, in the future they might add something in there because it looked very plain.
Yeah.
So, I was kind of worried about that. One other thing I want to ask you about Donkey Kong Country, because I know you posted it. I know others have posted it. There's a lot of reference to Zelda. And the question I'm trying to get to is if they do build a expansion, because each land at Epic Universe pretty much has an expansion slot behind it for expansion. Do when you're walking around Donkey Kong Country, is there any like little noticeable area where they can make another portal to a Zelda land, kind of like what they did with Donkey Kong when you are walking around Super Nintendo World? Or
probably there's nothing really that sticks out. I do know where it's at, so like they could take a when you get off of Minecart Madness, there's a walkway. I mean, you could have that section, another section that could get over there in that area. I'm assuming that's what they might do with that. In terms of if it would be, I know everyone's looking like Zelda or Luigi's Mansion. It's a big thing people have been talking about. I know for the longest time they were looking at putting Zelda in Islands of Adventure. Yeah, and I know they were worried about if it was a big enough draw and if that pull it over there. And looking they have a store that's outside of Super Nintendo World that's a Nintendo store, And in that store, like Zelda is everywhere in that store.
Yeah.
They even have Zelda merchandise. And the creator of Zelda was spotted with Morimoto, the guy that created Nintendo.
Yeah.
There's a lot of smoke. I don't know if they'll do Zelda there. Now, they will do some extension. I don't know if it'll be Luigi's Mansion or Zelda. I've been thinking of as much Zelda stuff as in that shop that Zelda would be coming to Epic Universe, perhaps, and maybe Luigi's Mansion somewhere else. But they definitely have the spot for it. I mean, I think there's multiple ways you could do it, and probably kind of restructure some of the walkways that extend out from Donkey Kong Country would be my guess. But I do know it's back. It's kind of like when you first go, you can kind of see through the fence, but it's like when you come out of that ride, it's like right to the left there.
Yeah.
Where that extension pad is.
Gotcha. Because that's one thing I'm actually wondering, because when he was out here for the Hollywood grand opening of Super Nintendo World, him and Mark Woodbury talked, and Mark Woodbury, very nice guy. I met him during FanFest nights.
I love Mark Woodbury.
Oh, he's awesome. And, you know, one of the things they were talking about was that they were not done with Nintendo, at least at the Hollywood park. So now that you guys have Nintendo, which is obviously a grander scale than ours, has both attractions, then you have the Donkey Kong Country. It makes me wonder if out here in Hollywood, if we're still slated to get Donkey Kong Country or just get Zelda in general. I don't know, but it's interesting.
Yeah, given the lack of space out in Hollywood, Donkey Kong Country would make sense because it's not big. It's not a real big area by any means. I love it, but it's like literally kind of a narrow walkway. You got a snack stand, a couple of activities, and you go right up to Minecart Madness. So it is a land that would probably fit into a tighter little area.
Sure.
So I can maybe see that. I know at Zelda at one point, I mean, they had some ideas for like in the queue where it was like you're going to have the little quests that you were going to do, like be in the Hyrule Castle and stuff like that. I want both Zelda and Luigi's Mansion. I think they both would be awesome, but I think an indoor type of ride is definitely something that they will add to this park, because that's definitely something they need to add as the years go on.
Oh, 100%. Just with the weather and everything else that goes with it. It's something where Hollywood, whatever they build, they have to tear out first and then repurpose it to build that land. I can see it coming. A lot of people have said lately that they're unsure if they want that, because now Osaka, Japan has it. You guys have it. You know, it's kind of redundant. So maybe something completely different. Maybe we do get a Zelda. Maybe we do get a, Luigi's Mansion, or maybe it's a different IP in general. Maybe a Star Fox, maybe a Metroid Land, maybe something, a Pokemon. I don't know.
That would be, I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff you can do with Nintendo. I think a lot. I know, like from them talking as well, it's like Nintendo's interesting because it's really popular, but it's kind of they're their own. I don't know. They're a video game company, but they kind of just do their own thing. Sure. And so even Zelda inside of Nintendo is kind of a niche inside of Nintendo itself. So they're worried about that, but I think Zelda would go over very well. I guess it would just be how you would maybe sell it to the general public that aren't super aware of it. But I think if you theme a land or an area very, very well, like look at Pandora, like Avatar, those make tons of money. Like those movies make so much money, but nobody remembers anything from them. Like I've seen them. I couldn't tell you any characters, but Pandora is a very well done land. So if you do it well, people will still enjoy it, and then maybe get them into Nintendo or Zelda or something like that after the fact too.
Definitely. And one of the questions, going back to Epic, because a lot of people have noticed that you can buy tickets of the day of like going. Like you don't have to wait days before to buy them. And one of the questions was from Chris West, you can already buy a day ticket. Are you surprised by that?
I'm wondering, like I said, I think they had a certain amount they were selling beforehand, and then they didn't open it up. I think there's a lot of people, I know myself on the second day, we exchanged a second day ticket for a preview ticket because it was a little bit cheaper. I think there's a lot of people that actually swapped out some of those tickets, but they did the preview dates well after they sold these initial batch of tickets.
Yeah.
I think there was probably a lot of people that just decided to maybe just do the preview date and just exchange it, or they decided to leave a certain amount for day of, so that way there are people that want to walk up day of to get it. Now, as far as I know, I'm looking like they've got, it varies, but it's like as of today, they had 600 tickets. Tomorrow, it looks like there's 21 tickets available. So There's not a lot available, but I think they have either allotted a certain amount, or there's just people that just exchange tickets for another date or something along those lines.
Definitely. And another question I want to ask you, going kind of backwards to Ministry versus Monsters Unchained, because I'm looking at a picture on my phone while I'm talking to you from Wallin Ballin, is the pre-show for Monsters Unchained. Walking through that and then walking through Ministry, do you still like Ministry a lot better because it's on a grander scale, or do you think Monsters is pretty much up there as well?
I mean, Monsters is up there. It's very, very well done. It's just the scale is different. Like the Monsters, sure. Yeah, like you're walking into an old manor, and it definitely has that. It tells its own story in the queue. And if you're a Monsters fan, like there's like the original Frankenstein is in the queue. Like they're studying it, trying to figure out what went wrong with that one for a new one and things like that. Sure. It's just not on the same level of the scale of it, I suppose you could say. But the details are there. And that ride is fantastic. Like literally for me, I put Battle of Ministry 1, the Monsters Unchained number 2, and both of them I think are already some of the best theme park attractions ever created. So I think for this park, having two of those headlining attractions be that great, at least in my opinion, is a major win. But I just think, like as good as Monsters is, and it is really good, Battle just kind of takes everything to just another level, in terms of everything it does.
Oh, 100%. One of the things I also, again, there's another question from Chris West. He says, has the ordering the food with the QR code at the table been an issue for people, since they don't really want people ordering at a register?
It hasn't been. It never has been for us. They kind of do this already in not all, but most of the at least quick service restaurants in Universal parks. But at least for us, like it works flawlessly. You can do your AP discount there. You just tell them what table you're at. And like when we ordered the Yak Nog, they brought it right to the table. I did have on our preview day, we had Meteor Astropub, same thing. Like food came out within 5 minutes. The walk-up stands like Grog and Gruel, where you get the macaroni cone, those are just walk-up, like typically pay that way. But I think they have registers, like you can go up and buy stuff at the register. But we personally haven't had any issues using the app, and we've used it multiple times. So I think for most people it works pretty good. But if you have issues, I'm pretty sure they have the options where you can order stuff without using the app.
Well, see, it's interesting because we actually talked about this on one of your live streams, or you might have been on my show, was that we were all concerned because during previews, they were having issues not only with the app, but trying to order food and then the IT infrastructure for the attractions. Yeah. So it seems like they got that under control. So that's a good thing.
Well, they just completely scrapped the virtual line for Battle. Yeah. And I think that was the main thing. I think they realized really quickly that either whatever the issue, whether it was servers or the app itself, like whatever it was, and I had said before, like that was the potential Achilles heel of the entire experience.
Oh, sure.
That attraction with that thing. And when people were trying to do it, other stuff wasn't working. So I think they got Battle to be able to run for the most part just in a standby queue. I think that's a huge win, and that relieves all the pressure off of the app. And then it also allows people to be in that line and then allow the other, attractions not to be, 3-hour wait times and things like that. So I think that was the main issue there. Hopefully they work on that app. Yeah. But hopefully I understand virtual queue. I'm not against it. I would just rather not have a virtual lottery to ride something I want to ride. I'd rather wait in line if that's something I really want to do.
Well, see, it's interesting because on an attraction like Ministry, like I said early on in this live stream, it's not like you're walking through a typical ride queue. You're walking through something that's a separate attraction itself.
It looks like a movie set you're walking through.
I mean.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing. And like you said, pictures don't do it justice. You literally have to go there and walk it yourself to just feel completely immersed.
When you come to Epic, I will try and go with you. I want to witness you, because the thing is, I wish I could see this queue
Yeah.
for the first time again.
Yeah.
It's one of those where you're just like, now I know what it is. Like, it's a really cool experience. I want to see other people walk through it for the first time.
Yeah.
And just because I think it's just such a, it's just like your senses are overwhelmed by like I mean, you've been in theme parks a ton. You know what to expect from theme park queues and rides. You're like, whatever. And you walk in, you're just like, what is this? Like, what did they do?
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh man.
Yeah. And that's how I felt on that Star Wars attraction, walking through that the first day. Well, my first day of walking through it, and I was astonished. I literally felt like I was on a Star Cruiser. It was just mind blowing to me to sit there and interact with the team members. It was a blast.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to ask you as well, going through that queue, do they have team members dressed up as the ministry guards? Because you see them throughout the movies.
They are. I think they're as ministry guards. They are in an outfit. I don't remember if it's exactly from the movie, but they are all in like they've got overcoats, and I think they are ministry guards. If I remember correctly.
Okay, so do they interact with the guests while they're waiting in line?
Not like they do in Rise of the Resistance. They're very much just team members there, just like if you got questions and things like that. Now, it was really cool. They did, when we were waiting in that line early in the morning, they handed out popcorn and water to people because everyone was just stuck in line. So the team members were great. They did, and they were letting people go to the restroom and come back in line because people were leaving the line to go get like butter beers and food and bring it back in. So they were great. They really were. Awesome. But they don't act as if like we're ministry guards. They're just they'll say welcome to the Ministry of Magic, and they'll have certain things, but they don't really have that, like, not like the First Order one does with like Rise.
Oh, definitely. Well, no, that's awesome. I can't wait to be out there and walk through that, because you're probably going to be like, oh my god, theme park conductor's walking through this. Man, his reactions is priceless, because I love the Harry Potter movies. You know, when they show it on because I have a Direct TV out here. So when it's on Direct TV, I love watching the marathons, because one thing I can say is they have now, compared to when they first started doing it, was they have pretty much every single Harry Potter movie, they have deleted scenes that you wouldn't see before. So they kind of throw in those Easter eggs for the movie that you don't really get to see unless you bought the DVD and you watch the extended cut and all that. So I love watching them. So I'm like super stoked to walk through that queue.
Yeah, I'm excited. Our daughter is just now going through. She's on like I think she's on the 7th movie now.
Oh, okay.
So I'm really excited to see her reaction to it, because it's all fresh to her. Like, she's just seen all the movies in the last like month. So I really want to. We're going to take a day trip one of these days. She wants to ride that and some other stuff. And yeah, I think if you're a Harry Potter fan, like, you'll love it. It's literally like, there's some slight differences here and there, but if you have the over, like, I think it was the 7th movie where they show like the big scene in the Ministry of Magic, it looks almost identical. It's actually insane that they were able to pull that off.
That's going to be awesome. I have to tell you, one question I want to ask you before we get to this video and then end it for tonight was the island of Burke. What, for you walking through that, obviously with your daughter and your wife and whatnot, were you, because people were blown away by that land, just the attractions, meeting Toothless, all everything that land has to offer. Were you astonished walking through that?
Honestly, yeah, that was a land I didn't have the biggest expectations about. I didn't know a ton about How to Train Your Dragon when they first announced it, but it has one of the best first reveals when you walk in. Like, you've got the bay and you've got those pillars with the fire in them. It's a great land. It's like you're walking into Isle of Burke on just a day they're there and stuff's going on around you. Hiccups Wind Gliders is one of my favorite rides. We rode that thing like 4 times. We rode it twice at night, and at night it's really cool because you get really cool views of the entire park at certain areas of it. That's awesome. And like the Toothless meet and greet, I think it may be the best meet and greet I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like our son is very shy, like he doesn't know you. And they were really great with him. They spent like 5 minutes with him, like petted Toothless, took pictures. Like it's for kids, and if you're into that, like they do a great job with that. And so that whole land, there's so many areas to explore. It's Vikings and dragons, so it's like it's just cool in itself. But I would say definitely Hiccups is the best. Like it's the other rides in their Fire Drill, like you're gonna get wet. It's just a basic family little thing. Dragon Racers Rally it's okay. It's just not worth much of a wait time there.
Definitely.
But Hiccups is a dry. I'd say Hiccups in the Toothless meet and greet are the top things that people, and the Dragon Untrainable Dragon show is fantastic. So they've got a lot of stuff in there that you can spend almost all day in this land if you wanted to.
See, that's awesome to hear, because a lot of people are like, how you train your dragon? I'll be in there maybe an hour and then I'm done. But from what you're saying is it's mind blowing, because I've seen actual video clips of Toothless, of the meet and greet, and I have to tell you, what a wonderful job they did with that animatronic. That thing is mind blowing.
It is so cool to see. Like and I know there's somebody controlling it. I think the building behind it, but like it just reacts. If he doesn't quite ready for you to touch him, he'll kind of pull back. He growls. He'll roar. Like our son loved it. Like he came away just like obsessed with that. And then the show itself, like I'm not a show person, but that show is fantastic. It is literally one of the best. I mean, it's right up there, I think, with the Festival of the Lion King in terms of theme park attraction shows, production value, and things like that. Yeah, I mean, you could spend an hour in here if you just walked in and walked out, but if you actually enjoy the property and like checking it out, I mean, there's little things that kids can do. Like you've got these little wheels you can play with that do different things in the land. So they've got a ton of just extra side quest things that you can do in here also.
Definitely. And I'm super excited myself, because that was another talking point for Hollywood, because Hollywood's going through a massive transformation with our city walk, with the hotel they're going to start building pretty soon, the security hubs they're building for easier entry into the theme park, and then just theme park expansions in general. And that was one of the ideas floating alongside with Harry Potter, with extension to Super Nintendo World, was bringing something like that to Hollywood. So I can only imagine, at the very least, getting one of those attractions. But again, that Toothless meet and greet would just, oh my God.
Oh, at the very least, yeah, if you get that Toothless meet and greet, it's so cool. Now, the only thing I was disappointed at Isle of Burke is they didn't have, at least I don't know what's going on with it, but the Flying Dragons have not happened yet.
Interesting.
They happened like a couple of times during previews, but they weren't doing an opening day, or I don't believe they've done it yet. So I don't know if they're having issues with those, because they're just drones that make look like dragons.
Oh, sure.
So I'm not sure what the issue with them is. I hope it's still something they do, because I think that adds such a cool element. But as of now, they haven't done those yet. I don't know the reason.
It's interesting, because the video we're going to watch from Attractions 360, that would be pretty cool if they can work out the kinks for those and have the show going on with those things flying in the air. That would just be that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
I mean, I think if you're in a land of dragons and you have dragons flying around, I mean, it's just like, if you're a kid, it's just like, that's just awesome.
Oh yeah. Well, people were freaking out on social media when they first saw it. They're like, what the hell?
And they have been testing it. Like I did a couple of videos. Like they were testing them multiple times at different points.
Yeah.
And so I know some people were speculating they had that drone accident last summer, and they kind of put on pause a bunch of the drone stuff in Orlando. But since then, like they've got the clearance, because they use drones for Sensational and the opening of the Epic Universe show. So I don't think there's any sort of drone regulations that they can't do it. It just must be something with maybe the drones itself. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it could be that. It could be who knows what, because the last thing they want is flying that thing around. People are walking.
Well, and that's the challenge. You don't want it flying over people either. So maybe there's, I don't know. I don't know what the issue is, but I know they've got a whole pad back there that's dedicated for the launching of those. So they have built it to have those included. They just haven't done it yet.
Man, that's crazy. But wow. And as we're watching this, the Chronos, how'd that feel walking through that?
I think it's such a cool thing. Like it's such a cool park icon. It's just so unique. Like what's interesting is you go. That's how you get into the park. But at that point, you're already the access. Like you've gone through the turnstile, so you're in the park.
Sure.
It's just you walk through that Kronos, and that's like your official like gateway in.
Definitely.
I think it's cool. At night, it's very photogenic. You can do also. It's got. And I know they've been testing different lighting packages around the whole park. They didn't do that when we were there. But I think if you've got that going on with it as well, like it's such a unique thing, and the portal entries as well.
Sure.
I give them credit for trying something brand new, and I think they pulled it off well. I think it's a unique concept. Like I love ancient civilization stuff. I don't know if you're ever into that stuff, but
definitely.
I love, and the whole idea behind this park is it's the Celestials, like they didn't build this technology. They just like happened upon it. And then like the Kronos powers all the portals. So like, I like the idea of that backstory just because it's very like, mythological and you got ancients and everything like that. Like, I think it's kind of cool, but I think they pull it off very well.
Oh, 100%. So when we're looking at this show, is this in Celestial Park?
Yes, this is, you've got that massive fountain and there's seating all around that. And then this is like, when you walk in, you see Luna and then you look straight forward and Helios is like right in front of you and the fountain is right in front there. So this is all around the Celestial Park area.
Oh, wow. So did they have seating for this, like individual chairs, or just everyone's just standing?
This was, I think, for the media.
Okay.
So yeah, this was just media invite. It was the day before. Now we could see it from our hotel room, the fireworks show, but they didn't do the opening night. They actually didn't do. They did a fountain show, but they didn't do a firework or drone show.
Okay,
which I was kind of disappointed by. But I have heard they're developing one for a nightly basis. They may introduce later this summer. But yeah, this was just something they did for, unfortunately, for the live stream and just for the media that was there.
Yeah, I do have to say though, having this show here, it reminds me of World of Color out here in DCA.
Yeah.
So this is pretty cool that they threw their little spin on it. And I know we talked about it the last time I was on your channel for a live stream, because you got the Helios in the background there. And, there's a lot they can do with that, with projections and whatnot. So do you also think that was a great idea by Universal when they were building Epic to have that in the background specifically for shows like this?
I think it's cool. I mean, I think they took the concept of, and there were some initial concept leaks of it, that they wanted to have a Disney-like castle, but it was a live-in castle. So like the hotel serves the purpose of kind of what, say, Cinderella's castle in Disney World does. I want to see what they do with it more, if they do the projections on top of it. Like if this was a nightly show they're doing right here, I think that'd be great.
Oh, 100%.
But yeah, I think the potential there, and obviously like if you can stay there, you can just walk right into the park. I mean, it's a nice feature, but I think it's a very unique thing. And I am curious if, you could see Disney start introducing more in, hotels that are either right on or right near theme parks. I mean, they almost did one for Epcot before COVID.
Yeah.
That was a big rumor. They were going to put a hotel that was going to basically just allow you to walk into Epcot. So you may see more of this. I think it's a cool idea. And I'm really curious at what else they kind of do with it once they introduce this supposed show they're working on.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because out here in Hollywood, right where you enter through security currently to get to the front gates, there's a parking lot right there, which is the Woody Woodpecker parking lot, and a Lowe's hotel. Because I know the CEO of the Lowe's hotel did a presentation with, I think, Mark Woodbury at the Helios the day before Epic opened, and he was there and whatnot. And we are supposed to get a hotel similar to the Helios right in front of our park. So it ties into exactly what you're talking about. So you literally go downstairs, boom, you're at the front gate. So you're right there.
And they're doing that also with the kids park in Texas. The actual park entrance, you actually go through or underneath the hotel. So they're kind of, maybe this is something Universal is just going to do with new parks they do is, and I think the UK park has in their concept art as well, of the hotel that's like right at the entrance. So
definitely.
I think I if you're looking to sell hotel rooms,
it's
a great way to sell it if you've got in-park access.
Exactly. One more thing I want to ask you as we finish out this video from Attractions 360 is did you ever stay at the Helios?
No, we were going to, and then we actually had it booked for opening night, and then we ended up
Okay.
changing our plans because we switched our days for a preview date, and then we just decided was like, well, like we've been through it a little bit, never stayed there, and we're just going to stay to some other time. But I mean, it looks gorgeous. I mean, it reminds me like Riviera at Disney World is one of my favorite hotels.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of the Riviera vibe in there.
Wow.
Now, I'm not going to lie. I haven't been too impressed with what I've seen of the rooms themselves, but the hotel as a whole, I mean, it's a beautiful hotel.
Definitely.
And so I think it definitely, like when you're back there too, it's so much bigger in person. Like when you walk in through the Kronos to enter the park, I mean, it's just a lot more expansive. And then as you get closer to it, it's such a cool feature with the water features in front of it. And not only the fountain, but you've got little water features that are set in front of it as well. It is a massive hotel.
Well, the reason why I asked, Jared, is because the rooms facing the park, when you know, if Epic does implement projection shows and stuff like that, people staying in those rooms facing the theme park and facing this area here, do you think Universal will let guests know that have those rooms and give them a disclaimer saying, hey, we do, you know, nighttime shows, we do projections. So if you don't like bright lights or, you know, stuff like that beaming into your room, this is a disclaimer telling you, hey, this is going to happen? Or do you think they may not do that because they've advanced the technology so much where it's not blinding for someone that's staying at one of those rooms?
It'd be a good question. Apparently in Japan, they do something similar and they do projections. I can't remember if it's Tokyo, Japan or Disney Japan or not, but they do projections of the hotel that doesn't interfere in the rooms.
Okay.
If they're able to do that, then I would say they wouldn't. But I mean, if it is a risk of that, I would assume they would warn you. But I would also assume they would try and do it to where they wouldn't just have that as a risk either way.
Yeah.
But apparently they're able to do it. That's what I've heard at least. And that is the initial leak they had, is they wanted to do projections onto it and treat it like how Disney treats Cinderella's Castle, kind of. So
definitely,
I guess it depends on the tech there. But I guess if it was potentially blinding, maybe they would just say, hey, like, shut your blinds, or, you know, don't look at it. But I even think that's a liability, because if somebody peeks out and something happens, they're gonna be like, I'm suing because I can't see it, you know, stuff like that. So
exactly. Well, I think what would be smart, if they haven't done it already, is those windows facing out, especially if they implement the nighttime entertainment with the projections and all that stuff. I think it might be a good idea, kind of like what people do with their cars, you know, to keep the sunlight out, you know, put
a little cover on there.
Yeah, tinting on those windows. That way you can still see out, but when they do that and they, you know, cast the light on that building, someone, like you said, doesn't look out and get blinded, and next thing you know, they're on 1-800-lawyer, you know. So
yeah, I mean, you have a bunch of injury lawyers in the lobby just waiting for people to come down with injuries they can file lawsuits about. Yeah,
exactly.
That's interesting what they do, and like how much whatever show they're working on, what aspects do they have of it. I mean, like from the guest perspective, I would love to see projections, but again, if it's not going to work for the in-park hotel, like, it's understandable. But yeah, I am curious of those projections, like how much of it is it like focused light where it would kind of like get your eyes, or is it more like a broad light that maybe wouldn't? I don't know enough about the tech to know how that would really affect you by looking at it directly.
Oh, 100%. One thing that I would like to see on our version of the Helios coming to Hollywood is, you know, because ours is going to be a 11-story tower with 500 rooms. What I would like to see, I don't know if they did it with the Helios, but some of the hotels surrounding the Disneyland Resort. There's one hotel in particular, I can't think of the name of it, but they, on their top floor, they actually have a restaurant with the whole patio and all that, so you can eat up there, and you can overlook the whole Anaheim area. You can see Disneyland and whatnot. I would like that to come to our hotel when they do build it and have something like that. I don't know if the Helios has something like that on the top floor or
they have bar Helios up there, and I think they
okay.
do have some seating that's near it, but they don't have like open top.
Oh,
They do
sure.
have that bar Helios up there, and then like they have seating around it.
Definitely.
I know Aventura has an open top concept. I've been up there. That's really cool because you can actually see fireworks. You could probably see the epic fireworks from there because it's not too far away. But yeah, I would like to go. We tried to get a reservation for Bar Helios, but they were all taken. So
sure.
I haven't got to go up there yet. But yeah, that bar and the views you have up there also just look insane.
Oh, it's astonishing, and I can only imagine when people start catching on to that, they're going to start doing dining packages up there, and
yeah, I think you could do. I mean, if they do a nightly show, you could also do like dessert packages. Like, there's all sorts of things you could do in this park. I mean, Atlantic is another one where that entire restaurant is glass, so like you could sell firework packages in there. So I think they're just starting. I mean, they'll monetize a lot more stuff with this park than they have previously, I think, just given off of all the features that this park has.
Definitely. The last question I have for you, Jared, because one of the things that was mentioned a while back is that they're already looking at expanding Epic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you think, since you've been at the park multiple times, how long do you think they're going to wait before they start really, moving dirt, as Josh Tomorrow says with Disney?
Well, hopefully it's better at moving dirt than Josh, because they just now started moving. That's a great question. My personal thing has been, I think Universal is going to be insanely aggressive this next decade. They came out in the commercial, one of the last commercials they had for Epic promoting it, and what's her name? Kathy Irvine, I think. Irwin. Yeah. She's the head of kind of the creative. She even said, we have things already planned for Epic Universe. I've also heard there's rumblings of permits that are currently out there for Super Nintendo World. Now, I can't speak to the veracity of those because I couldn't find them myself, but there are rumors out there.
Sure.
I think they may be very aggressive, and if they already anticipate, like, they want this park to be their Magic Kingdom, and I think they also know that they need to expand it. You could see what I would say a safe bet to me would be within a year they would announce expansion already. But I do think they're going to add stuff. I mean, they've already said into the existing parks. I think probably from a need standpoint, given where Epic's at, you need to bring some stuff up in the studio side. Get some more attractions in there, and they're already doing Rip Ride Rocket in there. But I actually think they'll probably announce something fairly soon.
Yeah.
I don't know how close. I guess the question would be, how close do they announce it after Epic Open? Because they don't want to steal from Epic's thunder of being open. Sure. So maybe by the fall, I definitely think within a year we'll hear something.
Yeah.
And, if they move quickly, I mean, technically, as quick as they build stuff, they could have a lot of stuff already on site. I mean, they could add another area to this park within a couple of years before Disney's even done with their stuff. Would be kind of interesting. But
I think they would pull the trigger, and I think if anything, they will wait, like you're saying, towards the end of the summer, or when they officially close Rip Ride Rocket around that time. I think we're going to get an announcement out there for at least Epic.
Yeah. Well, and they haven't even announced. I saw Chris West said HHN tickets for Orlando tomorrow or Tuesday. They haven't. This is the latest they've ever announced for anything for Halloween Horror Nights as well.
Yeah.
And I think they didn't announce it yet because of Epic opening. So they may also. The announcement of things is interesting because I don't know. I don't think announcing a theme park expansion would affect Halloween Horror Nights. I don't even really think it would affect Epic, but they probably just don't want to flood the media timeline of it with that part of it when it's just brand new. But
it's interesting too, because we talked about it, was that, is there a possibility that HHN stretches to Epic and what they could do with that?
It's a good question. I mean, I think Dark Universe would fit into that very well. I think the issue we'd run into is obviously I don't think Nintendo would play into it. I don't think they would want anything to do with it as a brand. You have the same issue with Harry Potter, as they kind of have the Death Eaters around Halloween Horror Nights, but they're not technically part of Halloween Horror Nights if you look at the language of it. I would wonder if they would do maybe more of a family-friendly Halloween event at Epic, perhaps, and not. I mean, I think you would just leave Halloween Horror Nights at studios, as that's always where it's been. But I mean, you could do stuff because again, how popular Halloween Horror Nights has become. I mean, they could extend it in some way or do some sort of special after hours event in Dark Universe, even like they completely control Universal Monsters. So they could do some stuff in there that, in the way that park is set up, you could close off that portal for a private thing like that and do some sort of extra thing in there. I think there's a potential they do something. I'm really curious what they do for Christmas. That's what I'm looking forward to. I think that'll look beautiful.
Definitely. And you know what's interesting too with Celestial Park from what I've seen, and then the portals kind of surrounding Celestial Park is whatever IP they want to do. Like let's say, like you're saying with Universal Monsters, or they want to do a Nintendo event. They can close all the other portals besides that one and use Celestial Park as an extension to that land and really, you know.
Well, and I've actually had the idea they could do, I mean, like the food festivals. You can do that in Celestial Park. You've got tons of room in there. You could set up booths and do stuff like that, like how they do for Mardi Gras. You look at Epcot with their food festivals. I think you could do the same thing at Epic as well. Like, I think there's a lot of things they could do in this park that they haven't or were unable to do in the existing parks before.
Absolutely. Chris West has a question. Do you think Nintendo out in Epic, I'm adding the word Epic, but do you think Nintendo out in Epic will have Christmas decor year one?
I hope so. I've seen what it looks like in Hollywood. It looks awesome. I really hope so, but I don't know. First year of a park is so interesting because you just don't know if they want to. I guess it may depend on where the park is. Like if everything's running well and they feel like they can take on that extra stuff, maybe they do. If they're still trying to work through issues, maybe they just don't take on that burden of it. But personally speaking, I hope they do because I think that would be awesome.
Well, see, I've seen Nintendo in the Christmas, both in Osaka, Japan, which is basically the same layout you guys have in Orlando, and in Hollywood with their little Christmas decor. What I'm really interested to see how they do Donkey Kong Country in Christmas. That would be awesome.
I agree. I think that even like Dark Universe. You could do something interesting with Christmas time in Dark Universe, like Isle of Berk. Like Isle of Berk with Christmas lights around it would look so amazing at night. Like all that stuff. I think the potential for the holidays, and Universal's done a really good job over the years of doing more for Christmas because I love theme parks at Christmas time.
Great.
And I think you've got a really good potential of doing some really cool stuff, even Celestial Park and stuff like that at Christmas time. So I'm curious as what they will announce this year for the holiday season.
Definitely. Well, Jared, it was always a great time having you on the show. Obviously, I'm going to try to get you back on the show when George gets back to the West Coast because he's doing his little thing. And shout out to George from Citrus Coast Central. He had a little rough start when he got to Orlando, but I'm glad he's doing all right.
Kidney stones are no fun on vacation, especially.
No, not at all. But I'm glad he's doing very, very well. He has several YouTube videos out, including a live stream that him and Abby did from their hotel. So definitely go check that out. Again, Jared, it was always a pleasure having you on the show. Where can everyone find you on social media?
Well, I appreciate you having me on. Always a good time, as usual. Again, find me at Cap the Magic on YouTube, on social media. And then if you want more park tips, we got a whole review we're going to do on Epic Universe on our podcast over at ThemeParkConductor. That's with my wife, and we cover all that stuff. But yeah, that's where you can find Cap the Magic is the home base for everything. And overall with Epic Universe, I loved it. It was a great day. And the lower crowds were there. I had a fun time. And I've been telling people, if you're looking to go here, if you're unsure, you might find a little pocket here before they really increase capacity where you can find some really good wait times and kind of not a super crowded park. So
definitely.
But thanks for having me on. It was always a great time. And of course, you'll be back on my channel as well. So it would be all sorts of stuff in the theme park world to talk about these days.
Absolutely. And, the quote Epic Universe, a lot of people are giving it crap, but I think, it's only going to get better from here. You have to start from the bottom and work your way up. So, everything that the theme park community does, whether it's Disney, whether it's Universal, Six Flags, so on, people are going to nitpick every little thing, but it's only going to get better. Yep. But yeah, Epic Universe, I can't wait to go next year with Tommy. We're going to be blown away. We'll definitely link up with you and hang out because it's going to be an absolute blast.
Well, by then, hopefully they got annual passes because I'm hoping to do annual passes soon, and I will go way more. But yeah, especially.
I'm actually looking at that, because it might be cheaper to actually do that than buy individual tickets.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm definitely considering that. But I'm your host, Theme Park Conductor. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Blue Sky at Theme Park Conductor. You can find me on X at Theme Conductor. You can find me every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Conductor Sunday live stream. And I want to thank not only our amazing guests tonight, but I want to thank our amazing chat. You guys are awesome. And I will see you guys very soon. Have a good night, everybody.